Hello, everyone. Good morning and happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
So, I believe the majority of people here today know I am. I just got introduced. But yeah, if you don't know me, my name is Carl Justin Fernandico, CJ for short. I'm 17 years old currently, and I'm one of the youth of Wednesbury. That's it. That's pretty much all there is to me. Yeah, don't worry. It definitely feels weird being the one standing here today speaking, seeing as the last time I actually spoke like this was a couple of years ago at a youth day with my fellow youth RV and Joy. We were all meant to speak for roughly 10 minutes each to fill that 30-minute slot for the message. So, Joy and RV, they spoke their parts well, each 10 minutes or more, really getting into the thick of it and being somewhat detailed in their message. I, on the other hand, was super nervous and was talking like crazy, like insanely fast, kind of like right now. But I remember my topic was about careers and how to find the best career for you as a Christian. And I remember I asked Pastor Dan for guidance, so like a few tips and a few pointers on what I should be talking about and the kind of format I should have. So a few days later, Pastor Dan gets back to me with this beautifully written guidance tool. And in my panic-stricken mind, I just sort of copied, pasted, and then I just said it out loud. All in all, the message didn't last 10 minutes. It lasted about 3, a full 7 minutes less than I intended. But hey, I was proud of myself. I managed to get over my fear, get up here, talk without crying or staring blankly into space. But yeah, now I'm back and I'm blessed to be here. So before I actually carry on, let's have another word of prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful day you've given to us. Please bless me now as I speak this message. Please bless the people here. Bless the rest of the participants as well. Sorry for our sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So far so good. Can you tell I'm nervous? I'm nervous. So, as you've all seen, the title of the message today is Aspire to Inspire. And you've all heard the scripture reading found in Deuteronomy 31, verse 6. I'll read it again. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Now, before I get into it, I'd like to tell you a bit of backstory of how I wrote this message. I actually wrote this message in the past 2 days and a little bit this morning because I left it late because of who I am as a person. But as I opened and stared at that blank page of my laptop, I came to the realization that I was stuck. I was stuck at probably the hardest part about any liberal type of public speaking, which is choosing the topic. I literally spent an hour or so searching through page after page about what the sermon should be about. I asked various people on what kind of things that they think I should talk about, and a lot of them came back with, talk about your recent struggles. Now, I don't want to boast or be vain or anything, but I've been on this earth for 17 years. I've had a pretty fortunate life. I'm very thankful for the life I've had so far. So I can say that I don't really have any major struggles that I could talk about for 30 minutes straight. I mean, I could talk about my school life, but then by the end of it, everyone, including me, would be asleep. So, in essence, for all intents and purposes, I was clueless as to what I was going to talk about. So that's when it hit me. That was my struggle. The fact that I couldn't think of anything, that I wasn't inspired by anything. So that's where the title of the sermon comes from, Aspire to Inspire. Because I believe that we shouldn't just wait around to become motivated by someone else, to become a better Christian and to become a better person in general. I believe that everyone in the world has the ability and potential to inspire others in their own unique way. There's also a short article about it, titled similarly, called Aspire to Inspire Before You Expire, which is really the basis of this message. If you want to read it, you can just Google it. It'll be one of the first links that comes up. But my message today will not be targeted at giving everyone tips and methods on how to inspire everyone, because if I were to do that, then I'd have to be speaking until like Sabbath school, and I don't think you want that. Instead, I want to focus on the ways that other people or other examples have inspired me in the past, and hopefully that can translate to each one of you individually to do your own thing and become the shining beacon of light to others. So let's begin. I have 8 lined up, so there's bound to be at least one thing here that you all can individually relate to. The first thing I'd like to talk about is music. In my research and preparation for this Sabbath, I actually watched a lot of the live stream sermons that the church has put up on YouTube to get inspiration. Forewarning, I'm going to say the word inspiration and inspire a lot in this message. And also to figure out how people talk. I watched last week's sermon, and it was really interesting. It was called Dancing with the Devil, and it focused on music, yes? Yes. Well, I think everyone can agree that music is all around us, even if we don't notice it. It's in our cars, it's in our homes, even in the way we are as people. I notice people all the time, when they're waiting or sitting around, they sort of fidget with their hands, like with their feet, they sort of just fidget around, because they're doing it to a rhythm of a song stuck in their head. My point is that no matter who you are, there's a type of music out there for you. If there is one good thing that humanity has contributed to the world in our entire existence, it is music, which is why it is probably what inspires me most. American writer and storyteller Kurt Vonnegut once eloquently and famously said, "Music is to me proof of the existence of God. It is so extraordinarily full of magic, and in tough times of my life, I can listen to music, and it makes such a difference." I really love this quote because it embodies what I believe music is, a magical, wonderful gift from God. I'll tell you a story about my experiences with music, especially in church. It's the story of when I first joined the choir. Now, back then, I was a bit immature, a bit of an idiot. I took the music department for granted and never really paid attention to it. So as I walked into our first ever choir practice as youth, I had this false sense of confidence within me, mixed with disinterest and apathy towards singing. I had the mentality like, yeah, it'll just be an hour and a half of me talking to a rhythm. You know, piece of cake, easy peasy, GG, well played. Boy, was I wrong. In that one session alone, I realized that singing itself is as difficult and requires as much commitment as A-levels would, for me anyway. And I gained this massive amount of respect for people like our choir leaders, like VIP, the people who do special items, because it really is that difficult. And when music is played, it can bring about all sorts of emotions. But when music is played really well with all that emotion into it, then it has the power to inspire anyone to do anything. So let's move on. The next thing I want to talk about is love. Shh. Please. Okay. Love. The best thing that anyone could ever do to another person is to love them. The Bible itself is the best example of love in the unparalleled stories it contains. For example, we have God's love. In John 3, verse 16, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have eternal life." You have love for your friends. John 15, verse 13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." And you also have your traditional significant others love. However, each one of you must also love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Ephesians 5, verse 33. Now, obviously, love falls into more categories than these. It can be about anything, love for nature, love for sport, things like that. In any context, love is an amazing thing. The support and magic it provides never fails. And who do we know is the greatest example and role model of love? Jesus. It's God, yeah. As mentioned in 1 John 4, verse 8, God is love. God equals love. And we also know that the text in 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4 to 8, describing love. So if God is love, then we can say that God is patient, God is kind, God does not envy, God does not boast, God is not proud, God does not dishonor others, he's not self-seeking, not easily angered. God keeps no records of wrongs. God always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. God never fails. And that is the perfect analogy of how we can use our love to inspire people to create this chain reaction. Right, so next thing I want to talk about is storytelling. Whether it's done in song, writing, movies, TV, or told to a small group of friends around a campfire with drinks in hand, I love storytelling and the passion and laughter and emotions that come with it. If you think about it, the Bible is the largest collection of stories told by the greatest storytellers in history. In modern times, our pastors and speakers are the ones telling their own stories, hoping to touch someone with the message. Storytelling, in my opinion, is the most direct and proactive way to move multiple people at the same time. You see, stories, they spark emotions. We have an intuitive, emotional side as well as deliberate, rational side to our character. Too often, we only try and connect with the rational side, but that isn't enough to actually change how people behave. It's not enough to inspire them. People may understand what you want them to do, but if they aren't emotionally engaged, they just won't do it. Storytelling gives leaders a way of inspiring colleagues in a way that appeals to both sides of our character. A more negative example with this would be Donald Trump. He came into this power because he used his ability to rally the people to him and to believe what he believed. Now, obviously, that's a negative example, but we can flip that and we can imagine what a good leader can do with storytelling. So I encourage everyone here to try it because everyone here is a storyteller of their own kind. And who knows, maybe your story will one day be used as others as their influence to do better things. So I mentioned there about our leaders and stuff. So whether it be Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King, King David, or Jesus himself, great leaders bring something to the table that you just can't put your finger on. Let me read to you a story I found of what a leader should be. The Civil War was a bloody and vicious war. At least 618,000 Americans died, and some say the toll reached 700,000. Casualties exceeded all of America's other wars, from the Revolution through Vietnam. In the winter of 1862, General Robert E. Lee's forces had claimed several key battlefields in the Eastern Campaign. One of those key battles was as one-sided a victory as a battle could be. It was the Battle of Fredericksburg. On December 13, 1862, Union forces began what was termed a desperate and eventual doomed assault on a heavily fortified position known as the Stone Wall at the Sunken Road. After crossing a river, the Union confidently took the town of Fredericksburg with little resistance. The Confederate army, the enemy, had voluntarily given up the town so that they might fortify themselves along a stone wall at the base of a sloping hill. As the Union army began to approach the wall, they were attacked, and by the morning of December 14th, over 8,000 Union soldiers had been shot in the stone wall. Many of those remaining soldiers that were shot were still alive, but were left on the battlefield, suffering from their wounds, cold, and thirst. During that night, both forces were forced to listen to the cries and moans of those soldiers for hours. A Confederate soldier stationed near the wall later stated that it was weird, unearthly, terrible to hear and bear the cries of dying soldiers filling the air. Lying crippled on a hillside so many miles from home, breaking the hearts of soldiers on both sides of the battlefield. Now a man, Richard Rowland Kirkland, an infantry sergeant for the Confederacy, could not rest or sleep due to the suffering of Union soldiers, and that morning asked his commanding officer if he could scale the wall and provide water for the suffering troops. The commanding officer was reluctant at first because of the danger posed to Richard, but later allowed him to. As Richard climbed the wall, several shots were instantly fired, thinking that Kirkland's motives were to wound more. But after realizing what was happening, shooting ceased. Richard Rowland Kirkland made his way to each and every soldier, comforting them as they died, the best he could by laying his jacket over one and providing water to the thirsty lips of all. For the next hour and a half, he would scale the wall a number of times with his canteen to get more water for his enemy. It was a moment that temporarily stopped the Civil War. In my opinion, this exemplifies the highest calling of leadership, and it embodies the purpose of being a leader. That purpose is to care and to serve. Similarly, Jesus came to this earth not to boss people around, but to care for everyone and to serve the people. If you look at Jesus' 2 to 3 year ministry in the Bible, Only a small portion of it is actually of him sitting down, like me right now, or standing up in front of a crowd of people, telling them about what to do and how to be like him. Instead, the majority of it is him being practical, going out to the people, sitting with the sinners, healing the sick. And actually, he was someone that you could copy and reflect. That is how you inspire to become someone to become more Christ-like, is to be more Christ-like yourself. Now, the next point I want to talk about is perseverance. And if we're talking about perseverance, we often look towards successful people because they are the ones that have to go through the most failures in order to be where they are now. It's often easy to look at successful people and think that it's all come easily to them. In many cases, this is not what happened. Colonel Sanders went to more than 1,000 places trying to sell his chicken recipe before he found an interested buyer. Thomas Edison tried almost 10,000 times before he succeeded in creating the electric light. The original business plan for what was to become FedEx was given a failing grade on Fred Smith's college exam. And in the early days, their employees would cash their paychecks at retail stores rather than banks. This meant it would take longer for money to clear, thereby giving FedEx more time to cover their payroll. Sylvester Stallone had been turned down 1,000 times by agents and was down to his last $600 before he found a company that would produce Rocky. The rest is history. The poet Robert Frost had his poetry submissions to the Atlantic Monthly returned unwanted. Ray Kroc, the late founder of McDonald's, knew this too. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence, he once said. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with great talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence, determination, and love are omnipotent. When we look towards the Bible, I would say the most famous example of overwhelming perseverance is Job. We all know his story. I'll give you the basic layout. He was an extremely righteous and godly man with all the wealth any man could ever need. His luck turned for the worst when Satan challenged God, saying, "You protect Job so that he doesn't need to ever doubt you. That is not true faith. He will curse you as soon as he loses everything." So Job was tested and lost everything. But what surprised Satan was that he persevered and stayed faithful to our God and was then rewarded tenfold for it. Life ain't easy. It knocks us down and drives us backwards. But when people decide they won't let that stop them, when they pick themselves back up and move forward towards their dreams and goals, that's inspiring. Now, this next point, I want you to bear with me. Okay? This next point, the next thing that I've been inspired with in the past is Batman. What? I know. Now, you're all probably thinking, what? Are you serious? How can Batman, of all people, be an inspiration? He's a guilt-ridden lunatic with lots of money who dresses up as a bat and beats up people because he thinks he's above the law. We haven't even touched on the fact that he's a fictional character. Now, for most of us responsible and mature members, we know better than to look at the Avengers or Superman in order to encourage us to be better people. After all, we can't even relate to them. But then, why do we watch their movies all the time? Just a quick hands-up question. Who here has watched any form of superhero movie or TV show? Just quick hands up. Everyone, more or less. Superheroes, as of late, have been one of the highest-selling and highest-grossing genres of media that have emerged in Hollywood and other media outlets. In simple terms, people are obsessed. Now, I believe this is because everyone at some point in their life has dreamt of being a superhero. Many children dream of one day waking up with the ability to fly or to have a suit that could shoot lasers at their problems. In other words, it's not the superheroes themselves that we are obsessed with. It is the idea and concept of what they are capable of that we strive for. But who else can do the things that Superman does, is greater and more worthy of holding Thor's hammer than Thor himself? If you haven't guessed, it's Jesus. Well, it's the Holy Trinity, isn't it? God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Together, they have greater power than our wildest imaginations. They've done everything from granting the disciples to speak in tongue, to reviving Lazarus from the dead, and to the inevitable second coming, where God himself will crush Satan. Now that's pretty encouraging. No, it's awe-inspiring, isn't it? Our omnipotent God is truly great and is someone we can rely on if we ever lack inspiration. The next point I want to talk about is teachers. Probably the job with the greatest task in the world. The teachers we have today will shape the kind of world we live in tomorrow. I mean, can you imagine what kind of person you would be right now if you didn't have that particular teacher in that particular grade, year, or if they didn't say that one thing that changed the way you looked at life? Teachers are incredible, yet they are so underappreciated. In my school, if you ask any of the lower school kids what they thought of their teachers, 9 out of 10 kids would probably say, "Oh, I hate my teachers. They never let me do what I want to do." Or they're always so strict, getting mad when we don't do our homework. But I've noticed as you progress through education and as you mature more and grow, you come to appreciate your teachers. And you remember your favorite ones and how they have had an impact on your life. I'm certain that if I were to ask each one of you today who your favorite teacher was, you wouldn't remember the things they taught you, but you remember your teacher as a person themselves. And that's what sets apart a good teacher and a teacher that is just out there to do their job and get their pay. A teacher is one that connects with their students and is like their other parent in a sense. And like our parents, those teachers are the ones that set us up for success in the future. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is not that teaching should be your next career path, because it doesn't have to be. But all I want to say is that in our everyday lives, we too can adopt and become like a teacher and be a role model to the future. As Carl A. Menninger says so eloquently, what a teacher is more important than what he teaches. So, wow, okay, I did this fast. I'm on my last point now. And so how many have we had? We've had 7 so far now. We've had music, love, storytelling, leaders, perseverance, Batman, and teachers. Now, this last inspiration that I found in my life is very important to me because, well, it's you. It's all of you. See, when it comes to Christian role models, you don't have to look further than your church today, your church family itself. I say family because that is what we are. We are a family. I can confidently say right here, right now, that I would not be the person I am if it weren't for Wednesbury Church. In fact, I'd probably be a much worse person, a much more immature person, let's say. And the reason I'm not is because every single person in this church and in this room today has displayed at least one of the above that I've mentioned today. When I talk about music, I need only look at the praise team every Sabbath, our choir leaders. When I talk about love, I need only look at our married couples, our uncles and aunties, our titas, titos, our parents. Even as friends, some of you here today have lasted since high school. I find that unbelievable. I barely talk to my friends that have left high school already. When I talk about storytelling, I look at our culture as Filipinos. I don't know if you ever noticed it, but us Filipinos, we're a chatty nation. Very much, yeah. Given the opportunity and the time, we would go through our entire life in the past 6 months with a person and still be talking by the end of it. It's just we're natural storytellers. Every single person here has persevered through some sort of trial and tribulation and has come out as superheroes because they overcame it. You look at how far our church has come, and you'd never imagine that with our church inauguration just next week, that all those years ago, you'd walk in, see a room full of people who want to worship, suddenly step up to the plate and become leaders. Leaders ready to teach and be an example to our youth, who will hopefully take on that mantle and carry on this church. I'm telling you right now that if you ever need some sort of inspiration, you need only look as far as the church, because God and the church will provide you with everything you need to become like Christ and go to heaven. So to conclude, these are just some of the ways I've been inspired in the past to become someone I believe is a good inspiration for others. And I encourage you all to aspire to inspire. If you're ever scared or worried about taking that leap, just read our scripture reading again. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And then you'll know you'll have nothing to worry about. Thank you.